Hello and welcome to our Wednesday webinar series. We appreciate that you're joining us at Grand Canyon University's Canyon Professional Development. And folks, you have a treat in front of you. Today, we're going to be talking about citizen science. That's you, that's me, that's everyone around us that can get out there and make a difference in the scientific community with our very special guest, Kal Mannis, who is what I call the rural STEM guru of Arizona. If you are teaching in rural schools in Arizona, I know that you know Kal Mannis. He has a wealth of information and knowledge to share with us today. Kal, do you mind introducing yourself to us just real quick here?
Sure. Thank you, Corey. My name is Kal Mannis, like Corey has said. I'm the Senior Director for Rural Engagement with the Arizona Science Center, and I am a previous middle school and high school STEM teacher, sometimes being the only science teacher for a high school. So vast majority of my time has been with rural school districts.
Which makes you the ultimate in citizen science. So I cannot wait to hear all of the wisdom that you have to impart in this area. I always ask our guests to pick a quote that resonates with them. Can you describe what it is that you chose and why?
Yeah, so I'm a real huge advocate of science literacy and STEM literacy as well. I think it's highly important that our citizenry be informed of how to differentiate between fact and misinformation. And the protocols, observations that science allows make that possible. So I like this quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Brilliant. And I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. He just brings physics into a realm of understanding. So tell me, Kal, what really is citizen science?
So it's really interesting. This is a process that seems very new and is in fact extremely old, but it's the collaboration between research scientists and community members, especially those who are curious, those who are insatiably curious, the folks who have never squashed their inner 3-year-old that asks why everything works. This is what keeps those folks busy.
That's a great definition. So concerned, motivated, and engaged to make a difference. And I think that's exactly what we need more of. So tell us a little bit about the history of citizen science. You just told us that it's been around forever. And to be honest, just being in Philadelphia not long ago, thinking about Ben Franklin and the founder of electricity, it really resonated with me today because here we're in an age and stage of artificial intelligence. So what is the historical realm of citizen science?
Well, if you really think about it, science as a profession is relatively new. Only since probably the mid-1800s with the Age of Enlightenment do we have professional scientists. Prior to that, all citizens could be scientists. And while it was often the realm of folks who are at universities or were wealthy, everybody was collecting data. Well, just like they do now, whether you're a rancher or a farmer or a hairdresser or a cook, we all collect data to make decisions. And so this is what the realization is, that we're all scientists. If we ask the question why, then we're a scientist. The history of the collaboration between professional scientists and non-professional scientists, that's what we call citizen or community science, where the data is being shared both with both the professional and the non-professional, and conclusions are coming up.
So I am intrigued already because historically it's about data of the common person, right? So historically it's how are we collecting data at this moment in AI? That is how ChatGPT is going to this next level so quickly. It's the amount of data that you and me are gathering, and machine learning depends on those humans entering the data into the machine. So looking at that in a citizen science perspective, wow, data to drive decision happens in the community. Tell me more. Tell us where we're going today.
So really, these four cornerstones is a lot of this information comes from research that's been done with community science projects over the last decade. Really, it's community level science, so everybody can be involved. So scientists need data collected a certain way so that they can use it. And over the last few years, probably the last 5 years, this is becoming easier and easier, and we'll see it in a few minutes, because of different platforms where the data can go into. That's the input, and then the scientists and community can take it out as well when it's
Wow.
been aggregated. That protocol provides very high quality data, and it can be used by both the professional and non-professional very reliably. And it also, there's such a wide variety of choices, like anybody's interest, everybody's why can be found out there, from frogs to flowers. And from from otters to sharks, anything that you're interested in, even auroras. Is a really cool aurora project right now, is out there.
So this is fantastic. So these cornerstones allow us to be a part of authentic data and valid data that real professional scientists can use.
This is not just like, oh, we'll take a picture and stick it over here. No, people are really using this data.
And what a great idea. It's crowdsourcing data. So, if professional scientists don't have the time to gather it all, now I can only imagine that the amount of data is probably pretty overwhelming. What an interesting conversation. Talk to us about the impacts of citizen science.
Yeah, so I mean, if you really think about it, it kind of falls into three major groupings.
Okay.
One of the biggest issues is the terabytes of information that are being developed minute by minute. So we have space-based satellites, hundreds of them. We have ground-based satellites. We have folks doing research in the oceans and in the soils, in the mountains, and the earthquakes. So much information that really the only way to deal with it is to crowdsource it. And so the other piece is that this bridges all of these gaps around curiosity, but also diversity and inclusion. There are no barriers to data. And if anybody wants to help, they can. And so that's a big piece. The other is it actually enables the professional scientists to push the frontiers of their science.
Wow.
So they can move faster with help. Like many hands make light work. This is the concept. And then it goes back to the original quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson about policy. When you are a part of the research and you are a part of gathering data and trying to understand it, you're informed.
Yeah. And you're a part, and the perspective, you just said multiple perspectives can share. So we need those multiple perspectives to create a just society in this realm. Fascinating. So the scope enables me to be able to utilize data that matters. Is that what you would say?
I would say so. And data is an interesting animal because it shows up in a lot of different ways, which is actually even more interesting. You will see it as we go through some of the data sites. Some are places where you can visualize, some are really picture based. There's just a wide variety for what is comfortable for different people. I mean, different people have different comfort levels, And so data can come in different ways.
Well, and I love that whenever we work with data. So to think about the larger why, the impacts, bridging the gap, the scope of where these investigations can take us, and obviously the policy, as you said before, that Neil deGrasse Tyson talked about. Let's take a look at some of these sites.
Okay, so we're going to go through a series of aggregators.
Let's start with SciStarter.
So SciStarter is probably one of the larger citizen science aggregators. Different organizations will create a page on SciStarter and you can search for them. All over the country, different interests. You'll notice the fields in the upper right-hand corner. Find a project if you'd like, or you can just randomly do it. Also, you can do this on your cell phone. And if you do that, then you can turn on your GPS and it will look for projects in the area, in your area. You can turn the GPS off and then just go by topic. So it's really interesting. Honestly, there's stuff, all kinds of things, astronomy, aquatics, bats and bugs and whatever it is.
And here's a couple of featured projects. So if you're not sure where to go, you can go right to their featured area.
This has a lot of training pieces. So if you wanted background on how to set up your own project or what these projects really look like, and some more in-depth history or some research articles, so there have been quite a few research articles, you can go through the training section of this. This is all free and it's quite extensive. You get badges. It's kind of cool. If you're a library, and interestingly enough, SciStarter, the developer of SciStarter, comes out of Arizona State University. Her name is Dr. Darlene Cavalier, and she has been working for the last several years with libraries and developed a series of citizen science kits and then made them available to libraries. And they still are. Many libraries around the state have them, around Arizona. If you just go and ask your library, if you are in Arizona. If you're not in Arizona and you want your library to be involved, go to that. And the library resources give you kind of a checklist of what the different citizen science projects are and what each kit is made out of. You can just build your own.
And these kits are in existence to help our citizen scientists. That is fantastic. Now, are all of these free?
Typically they are, but what happens is some of the Arizona libraries have them and they check them out. Like you can just check this out.
Funding your kits. So maybe not totally free, but there's funding. Okay.
So there's a number of different funding mechanisms that libraries have to build things like this. The folks who designed these kits are specialists in informal kit building. They're mainly from children's museums.
Wonderful. Cool. So you're getting high quality.
It's very high quality and well researched.
But I really like this concept of library kits and being able to be anyone. So a parent, a homeschool, microschool, SciStarter is a great place to start.
FieldScope is another aggregator. The difference with FieldScope is it's a little bit more research based, and these sites visualize their data. So the developers of the project work with the FieldScope programmers on how they want people to see their data as the data is growing. And so each one of these will look different. The data will be different because the projects are looking at different things. If we look at Budburst, which is one of the oldest citizen science projects in the United States, it's now being hosted by the Chicago Botanical Gardens.
Oh, cool.
This one shows you how many observations have been done. Budburst actually looks at when is the first greening of plants happening, and what the scientists are looking for is that changing, right? So This is one of the ways that Field Scope helps you to see the data. It's on a map. And
So I'm gonna click
so,
explore the data, and there's the map.
right, you can explore the data in here. You can actually look at the data sets, because most of the data sets are available if you're that nerdy that you want to see data tables.
I might have been busted looking at lots of data before, yes.
Yeah, it happens. Some of us fall into that. But
Oh,
this
look,
is
you can
one
show it in
way.
a table. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
sorry, yep,
it's
I'm
table.
getting
So
geeky
almost
over
all of
here.
the Field Scope, actually all the Field Scope projects will have data tables, but how they visualize them will be different. Some will be graphs, some will be infographics, some will be ArcGIS maps of different kinds. This really just depends on the project.
That is something that kids, if they have their own data in this table, how much more excited will they be to map it like this?
Just so that folks know, if you're a formal or informal educator, there's professional mapping software that you can use called
Oh, wow.
ArcGIS. You can go to ArcGIS, you can get an educator's license, and you can build data onto these great maps.
Oh my gosh, so excited. Okay, so we'll move along, and folks, everything will be in the show notes. Tell me about iNaturalist. This one I've used before. I absolutely love it. I've only used it on my phone, not my computer. So tell me a little bit about both.
So interestingly enough, iNaturalist started off as a photo warehouse for photojournalists who wanted to collect pictures of work that they were doing and then be able to compare it.
Wow.
It has evolved from the original developments and now is used worldwide, has one of the largest collections of both biome pictures and pictures of plants and animals, both on the land, in the air, on the sea, anywhere. The community helps to identify the species.
This is such a fun thing to do, just with my own children, like on a field trip when I'm, at a hotel or something, and we're like, let's go see what's out there. And to think that I'm also a part of the data collection is pretty cool.
And you can set up your own citizen science observations. Like we've done this in the White Mountains where we do a bio blitz, set up 3 or 4 hours, and you collect everything that's living within a certain area, and it goes onto your folder, and so you can make your own folders.
Yeah.
So if you're a classroom or a classroom teacher, you can do that and make your own folder within iNaturalist and have your kids put their data into that folder.
And so simply put, I love how they say you record, you share, and you discuss. So truly,
Right.
those are those attributes of a true scientist, really trying to think about, okay, what is happening in and around me and why. So absolutely hits all those science standards, particularly the cross-cutting concepts. It seems like such a great way to utilize that type of lesson in your classroom, in science classroom. Next, we have exoplanet exploration. Tell us about this one.
So this is one of NASA's portfolio of about 36 different citizen science projects.
Wow.
And exoplanet is where data from NASA is shared. And there's a tutorial on how to analyze the data. And what you're looking for is you're trying to find planets around other suns and other stars that are within the visual scope of our multitude of different telescopes. So just so that you know, there are people around the world who have been doing this for a while and have discovered hundreds and hundreds of planets. The exoplanets that are discovered are not just from the scientists at NASA, but from like high school students in Virginia and accountants in Argentina.
Amazing.
Yeah, and like the taxi driver in Germany.
So this is the one to go to when you're thinking about planetary science.
This is part of the NASA citizen science portfolio. And so if you go to science.nasa.gov/citizen science, you will find the entire set. And so you just look to see what's interesting. Many of those can be done at your computer. Some can be done outside. If you're in northern parts of the country, there's a really cool Aurora project going on right now.
And how
Yeah.
neat is it that you can be a part of NASA? So really inspiring some of your students who want to be astronauts. Hey, get them already working for NASA right now. That's pretty.
Or even those who don't even know that they want to be involved with.
Yes.
This is a really interesting citizen science over the last decade has really become a thing. The General Accounting Office with the federal government has aggregated citizen science projects that have shown up or are showing up in the process of showing up within the federal government. And there's a community, they've got a catalog of federal government projects. The nice thing is this toolkit. So it provides really an interesting, handy amount of information on development. So you want to set something up and you feel the need to get, that background. You're not one of the folks that are like jumping off the cliff and figuring out how to land, but you want to have your parachute ready. This is a good place for it so that you can have a good background. And
so you can actually start your own citizen science project using the citizenscience.gov toolkit.
Right. So between citizenscience.gov information and SciStarters training information, you should have enough material to set up a high quality citizen science project for yourself, or to be able to tell whether a project meets a quality level that you want to be involved in. So
okay, next up is Globe Observer.
So Globe Observer is I have to say, it's one of my favorite citizen science projects.
Ooh, bookmark this one, folks. Okay.
Probably because the 3 or 4 months before this went online, I met with the developer in Boulder. And
cool.
She was so engaging and she was so enthusiastic about this. I'm like, okay, I can't wait to see what it looks like. And they did a phenomenal job. This can be downloaded off any app store. You set up a free account and you collect data using pre-designed protocols, observational protocols. The app takes you step by step by step by step. You don't have to worry about did I miss something? Did I not understand something? It takes you through it all. This app has been collecting data. This is from the last 7 days, all over the planet. And so there are 4 protocols that are currently being, that are accessible. So one is clouds, one is land cover. So how is land being used? You need about 100 feet in all directions. That's not, it doesn't have to be open because it could be houses and buildings, but how it's used. There's mosquitoes habitat and then tree heights. So when those high school students say, why do I have to learn how tall that flagpole is? Well, this is the same trigonometry, except you don't have to figure it out with your calculator. It's all actually in the app. You just have to put the numbers in, it figures it out for you. It's very cool.
But it matters. Yes.
Right.
Are these measurements happening in these parts of the country and the world?
Yes, actually. Yep. Along the x-axis at the bottom are the dates that the data was collected from.
Wow.
So one of the things that's happening is NASA looks down from 250 miles or higher. It's called remote sensing. And a pixel can be anywhere between 30 meters square and 100 meters square, which means that there's no detail in that pixel. So what NASA is hoping is that we as the citizen scientists can help fill in that data so that the maps become much more robust.
Wow. Okay. So they are depending on citizens to really increase information in the areas of mosquito habitats. I find that fascinating.
And that was my question too. Like, why NASA mosquitoes? Like paint this picture for me.
Yeah, I'm interested.
it's an interesting picture because mosquitoes that are disease vectors, disease carrying mosquitoes, are mostly tropical. And what NASA is curious about is, are they changing the environment? Are they moving into other environments that are not their natural environments?
Okay, I want to make
And
sure they're not moving into my environment as much.
right, so we there was that Zika scare in Florida a few years ago. It's still around, but now they're finding these insects in places that are definitely not tropical. And the question is why? Data is being gathered. That's one piece of it. The other piece is just to make people aware that the habitats that mosquitoes use for breeding, it's just puddles of water. Any sort of things that are outside, wherever water accumulates and doesn't evaporate, there are mosquitoes. And many mosquitoes do carry diseases. So you want to make sure that your area is clear of little bits of water. So we're in the summertime of 2023, and in October of 23 and in April of 24, there will be eclipses. So Globe Observer will have eclipse observation protocols that will come up at the end of the summer.
Okay, moving along. And again, folks, we're going to have all of this in our show notes for you. Tell us about the National Phenology.
The National Phenology Network is an interesting creature. It grew out of a project at the University of Arizona and is now its own 501c3. It kind of splintered off. Phenology is the study of seasonal change and how those seasonal changes impact life forms, both plants and animals. And this project has been around for a decade. Really interesting data that they're collecting, and the data is available. They are using the data. A variety of scientists are using the data, but really they're focusing on educators, classroom and informal educators as the main data collectors around the country.
Wow, that's
So
awesome.
you'll find this group, they have a team of 2 or 3 folks that are they're in their education department. They will train you on how to create a phenology program that's local to your school or your library or your park system. They will help you become certified phenology experts.
Wow.
They have a huge amount of information that can be used. So they have a database of animals and plants, so you can access their database. You can create a phenology walk, so a trail around an area, and you can have like the little numbers of things, like look at this plant, look at that plant, and you hear this bird or see that bird at different times of the year. Really a wide variety of things that are available through this site. My cohort, when I took the certification group, we had somebody from the Smoky Mountain National Park. We had somebody from the University of Minnesota. We had somebody from the Everglades National Park. Just a really wide variety of people, a couple of teachers, which is what I was at the time. And everybody was using this site to create their own programs around nature.
Wonderful. Wow.
Great site, and really, really helpful people. The folks that run this are amazingly helpful.
I see they've got a lot of opportunity for me to learn about observation, becoming an observer, my observation deck. And this is really important. Learn how to observe. I mean, that's a very important skill, quite frankly. I love how they have versions in Spanish as well. Really great site for educators. Thank you for sharing that one.
This is Zooniverse. Zooniverse was a aggregator site that astronomy programs basically were attracted to. The vast majority of citizen science projects on this site are astronomy based. So you'll notice how aggregated numbers down here, the number of volunteers, classifications, completed subjects. A lot of these are short-term, crowdsourced data sets, right? To help understand something. Where's there a planet? Is there an asteroid moving through? A big thing on dark energy. So it's for those folks that are really fascinated with astronomy. To tell you the truth, space science right now is in a renaissance, and there is some amazing, breathtaking data that's coming in from a wide variety of satellites, but the James Webb especially, which is just starting to bring stuff in from the infrared.
Even as early as this morning, I was listening to something about black holes and the amount of information that we have now due to technology at the interferometer observatories.
So Zooniverse also has some biological observation programs, but the vast majority are astronomy.
I have one more. This is one that you really like. It's called Esri.
So
and it's got a really cool Arizona component to it. Go ahead and tell me more about it.
Yeah, so Esri is actually a fairly well-established corporation that produces corporate tools for infographics, mainly around mapping, different levels of mapping. Incredibly powerful tool. It's an analytical tool as well. And you saw that when we looked at the field scope, when you saw the map of bud burst on field scope right here. So this is an Esri map. This is an ArcGIS map. You'll also notice it if you look at a number of almost every state that has data set up in a visualization is using this tool. The cool thing is that there is a free educator license. So instead of spending tens of thousands of dollars on your license, you're not spending anything. And if you're a formal or informal educator, you can get an ArcGIS license and use it in your classroom. You can gather data and then visualize it like this.
That is incredible. What a combination of STEM efforts. So you're really combining that science, technology, engineering, and math right here, utilizing software program that's free for educators for citizen science projects. Wow, amazing.
This is one of my favorite maps because I use it when I write grants.
Oh, that's a nice tip.
This is a map that is a collaboration between the Maricopa Association of Governments, Read on Arizona, Arizona Department of Education, and the state, the other divisions in the state. This is an aggregation of, last I heard, it was 12 different data sets. Maybe it's probably more by now. This is a view of every library in Arizona right now. And then you can do heat maps on population, different variations of population. You can go with socioeconomic levels. You can go, every school can show up, every preschool that shows up. A mind-boggling amount of information. You'll notice the tabs along the top where it says sites and schools, key topics, demographics, reports. You can create reports from this data. It's really astonishing.
And helpful to be able to talk to students about why data, why is this important, and why do we need reporting? This
data visualization helps you to really understand where the gaps are for where maybe schools or libraries or hospitals, because there's a component in here where you can find out where medical services are.
Wow.
And you see these just glaring empty spaces, and people are living there, but there aren't services there. This is just one way that these sort of maps give you information. It helps you with gap analyses and different types of data analyses formats. So when you're teaching your kids, like, what can we tell from this data? You're basically guiding them into different forms of analysis.
10 tabs that we just explored. So after checking out some of these sites, I just want to kind of wrap things up. I really love this slide, Cal, because I'm feeling like, oh, I need to reflect. What did I see and what did I wonder about? And this can be utilized after you come in from outside using your iNaturalist app or SciStarter. Boy, I'll tell you what I wondered about the impact of at the NPN site about mosquitoes. Like, why we're looking at cloud cover, tree height, and mosquitoes, and the concept of having mosquitoes bringing some sort of dengue fever to an area that's not tropical. I wonder, and I'm fascinated by such. And so I guess what I have to do is just get my citizen science vibe on and go out and find some of the answers to my problems alongside of my fellow citizens. Folks, these references are going to be in the show notes. So just know that everything we looked at today, you will see in our show notes. I really appreciate, Cal, you bringing all of these resources. I definitely have more than one thing that I took away, but now I want to see how I might be able to create a citizen science project utilizing that ArcGIS mapping tool. I want to take it deeper. I want my students to be able to be a part of the creation of a citizen science project.
Really, the takeaway here, I know for me, has always been, I'm insatiably curious. And so if you're curious also, if you ask why and how, or you let yourself have the joy of asking why or how, you are now a citizen scientist. And the key is, don't be afraid to use these products. Like, have a family outing. When you go out on a picnic, pull out your phone, pull up your Globe Observer app and look at the clouds, or sit on a blanket, look at the clouds, take pictures of the clouds, and you're gathering data, having fun, which is what it should be, and you're helping NASA out.
What a wonderful way to keep the curiosity and wonder alive. Thank you so much. Folks, please subscribe for more free PD. Can't wait to see you again, Cal. For now, we must say goodbye. Take care, everybody.
Thanks. Take care.